Hello, everybody, and this is my review. This is going to be my review for Black Widow, which I had just seen on Disney Plus. And I have a couple things to. I have a few thoughts on it. It's certainly not a movie that I hate, and it's definitely not a bad movie. Uh, but I have very mixed feelings on it. Um, just a general consensus on the MCU for me. I am a fan. I do. I mean, who isn't a fan of the MCU? I can find Marvel very overrated in some aspects, but in other aspects, I find them to be genius. Um, the fact that that they were able to start this from the literally from the ground up, and with Iron Man, the first Iron Man in 2008, and have a whole universe and just have all these amazing characters come together. It's really awesome and it's really cool. And I think the only time that was ever successful with a big superhero franchise like this is probably the X-Men, which are films that I really do enjoy. But as far as other franchises go, like the DCEU, which I am a fan of personally, I do like the DCEU, most of it, not all of it. There are definitely problems that Marvel has done a lot better job of handling than the DCEU has. But I am a fan. My favorites are the first Avengers movie in 2012. I think that movie is the best Marvel movie because it's literally lightning in a bottle, and I think the core group of Avengers works really well together. There's some good banter. And I also really like the Winter Soldier as well as the Guardians of the Galaxies movies, and I find very underrated Doctor Strange. All really great movies and movies that I would watch again. And of course, Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame are classics. They're going to be classics, and they're going to be talked about for a long time. So I am a fan of the MCU. But right now, with their recent Phase 4, I have not been impressed at all. And to be quite frank, in my opinion, it should have ended at Endgame. I think Endgame should have been the last MCU movie, and then it would have been nice because it would have had a perfect beginning and a perfect ending. Because it really started out very strong with Iron Man and it ended very strongly. It would have ended very strongly with Endgame. Now it feels like the MCU is just, I don't know. It just feels like they've ran out of ideas, and it just keeps retreading the same ground over and over again, which is what I felt about Black Widow, and that's unfortunate because as someone who is not the biggest fan of Black Widow, I still went in giving. I still went into this movie with a lot of hope, and I knew people were not happy. Some people, some critics were not happy with it. So, but I just decided to let all that go and just go in fresh, just have fun because it is Marvel, and you are there to have fun with Marvel. And so I just went in with just a clear mind, and there were some elements that I really enjoyed. For example, the casting of Florence Pugh as Natasha Romanoff's quote unquote sister. And of course, David Harbour as the father and Rachel Weisz as their mother, Melina. I believe that's their name. Yes, that's their name. Melina, little sister Elena, and David Harbour's character Alexei. All of their interactions with one another were fantastic, and really there was some really nice scenes, some humorous scenes, some good emotional scenes too. I mean, all of these actors just work very well together. And of course, let's talk about our star here, Scarlett Johansson, who has played this character many times. Like I said, I was never a big fan of the Black Widow character or a fan of. I'm not the hugest fan of Scarlett Johansson. My favorite performance from her is by far from Marriage Story. She was so real and so wonderful in that movie, along with Adam Driver. Here, this is probably my favorite since Civil War. Since this is probably my favorite interpretation of the character of Black Widow since Civil War. I really liked her in Civil War, and it makes sense because this is a continuation after Civil War. So yeah, I really liked Scarlett Johansson in this movie. She was good. She was serviceable. She's played this character for a while now, and so obviously she cares deeply about the character, the source material, and she was great along with Florence Pugh as her quote unquote sister. I loved Florence Pugh in the movie. She was probably my favorite part of the movie because you I can definitely tell especially with things that happen in the movie that they're trying to set up more for her character. No spoilers. But yes, there was a lot of great stuff with her core family, the core cast of characters that were relating to her family. The villains, Marvel has always had a big struggle with villains, and I think this one is not good. It's set up very nicely, the character of Taskmaster, and then they do this sort of twist reveal with one of the other villains, and it really, there was not enough. There really just, again, there wasn't enough. There just wasn't enough screen time for this villain to really have that emotional connection and emotional stakes that I think it wanted to, and I think that's all in the script. The script is not as good as it could have been. I think there are moments that don't feel as earned at the end, and I looked and I just rolled my eyes at, because I knew what they were trying to go for, but it didn't land for me, unfortunately. So, and the action, I mean, it's the MCU. I mean, the action is pretty substandard, which is not a good thing, unfortunately. So the action, none of the action really impressed me. The opening I really enjoyed, and I thought it really set up something really cool with Natasha's past and her background and all of that. I really enjoyed the opening. In fact, I love the opening. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. You know, just her setup and the opening titles and her like going through all the Red Room stuff. But yeah, this movie really was a mixed bag, and it's sad because Phase 4. I'm not particularly pleased with Phase 4. I did like most of WandaVision. I think that was a really good and different show, and I'm really enjoying Loki. I love Loki. I cannot wait for the season finale, and I'll have a review for that show maybe on this channel, hopefully. But yeah, I really enjoy. It's weird. The larger than life aspects of the MCU, I think, are all done very well. It's just the more realistic stuff, particularly what they're doing right now with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and unfortunately this movie Black Widow. I'm just not. I'm just not really. I'm not really. How do I say this? I'm not really as into it as I am with the other larger than life, fantastical elements that the MCU has done, and I think they haven't really gotten as much of. I've never really been wanting to watch it. I really did not like Falcon and the Winter Soldier at all. I think that show is quite awful, and I think the worst, or at least one of the worst MCU like assembly productions, as far as like the whole cinematic universe is concerned. I really don't like it. And that's a shame, because there are great characters. These are all great characters, and they are played by wonderful actors, and they deserve to have good stories. But unfortunately, this one just didn't do it for me. I'm gonna give this movie I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. If you like the MCU, I mean, go see it. It's I mean, if you're a fan, I mean, you'll probably really enjoy it. But I just found there was too much that just felt like we were retreading similar territory, and the villain again was just very weak. And I know what they were going for, but it just didn't land for me. Yeah, 5.5 out of 10 overall. If you guys like this video, you can go to my channel and see other reviews that I've been doing. I recently reviewed Skyfall, the James Bond film. I think that's my favorite James Bond film right now. We'll see what No Time to Die. I'm going to have a review for that later on this year when it comes out. Hopefully I'll give you guys some more content. Thank you. Bye.